I think there's no great rush to come to a decision because we're going to be firmly in opposition for some time, and it's important to get the decision right. I think one of our problems has been that we have been changing leaders in the way some people change their shirts.
Well, Mr. Returning Officer, all here at tendering, and I have to say, fellow candidates, it's been a well-run, well-fought and remarkably clean election battle. I think we'd all agree on that, and thank you for your services. I promise that I will do my absolute best as a Member of Parliament. I had 20 years as an MEP, but it's not quite the same link or same responsibility with constituents. I will do my absolute best to put Clacton on the map. I'll do my best to bring more tourists. I'll do my best to try and bring some private investment. It's over 30 years ago that I fought my first parliamentary by-election. And I've fought lots of them over the years, and I've had big successes in European elections and perhaps less so under first past the post, which is a very demanding, very demanding problem for smaller parties. I will say this, it's 4 weeks and 3 days since I decided to come out of retirement and throw my hat in the ring. I think what Reform UK has achieved, given that we had no money, no branch structure, virtually nothing across the country, we are going to come second in hundreds of constituencies. How many seats we're going to win, I don't know. But to have done this in such a short space of time says something very fundamental is happening. It's not just disappointment with the Conservative Party. There is a massive gap on the centre-right of British politics, and my job is to fill it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. But it's not just what we do in Parliament as a national party that matters, it's what we do out round the country. Getting 5,000 people in that room in Birmingham last week, the energy, the optimism, the enthusiasm, the belief that Westminster is just completely out of touch with ordinary people says to me that my plan is to build a mass national movement over the course of the next few years and hopefully be big enough to challenge the general election properly in 2029. What is interesting is there's no enthusiasm for Labour, there's no enthusiasm for Starmer whatsoever. In fact, about half of the vote is simply an anti-Conservative vote. This Labour government will be in trouble very quickly. And we will now be targeting Labour votes. We're coming for Labour, be in no doubt about that. I want to thank the team that have helped me do this over the last few weeks, my fellow candidates for behaving as impeccably as they have. Believe me, folks, this is just the first step of something that is going to stun all of you. Thank you very much.
Nigel Farage there in his victory speech in Clacton, talking about creating a mass movement, promising something that's going to stun all of us, apparently. Well, we can get reaction to that speech from Jacob Rees-Mogg, who joins us live from his count in North East Somerset. Jacob Rees-Mogg, first of all, your reaction to Nigel Farage entering the House of Commons.
Well, I congratulate Nigel on winning election to the House of Commons. It is the greatest honour Britain can ever have to serve his fellow citizens in the Palace of Westminster, so I wish him well. And I listened to his speech with great interest because I think he makes some valid points. I think the Conservative Party has not looked after its core vote recently, and that its core vote has therefore gone off to Nigel.
Will you be in the House of Commons with him?
My vote will be declared relatively shortly, and I think it would be disrespectful of me to the people counting if I were to tell you what I think the result is.
Very good. What should the Conservative Party do now? Is the answer to out Farage, move to the right, try to steal his clothes? Is it to move to the centre, as successful election-winning Conservatives have done in the past, and take on Labour? What do you think the Conservative Party should do now?
Well, I'm fascinated by your analysis that says successful election-winning Conservatives have moved to the centre. I wonder if you ever proposed that to Margaret Thatcher. I don't think that was how she won 3 significant election victories, 1979,
Actually, Jacob, if you go back and look, particularly at 1979...
And it's not how Boris Johnson won in 2019 either. The way the Conservative Party wins elections is by putting forward Conservative propositions. That's free enterprise, control of our borders, and ensuring that people have freedom to get on with their lives.
Do you think that Rishi Sunak put forward a proper Conservative pitch to voters?
Well, I don't wish to criticise Mr. Sunak. I think he has done his best in sometimes difficult circumstances. I think the problem is that the Conservative Party has not been as close to its core supporters as it should have been, and that therefore they have gone to vote for other parties, particularly for reform, and that we know from long-standing electoral experience that if any wing of politics is divided, then the other wing of politics cleans up with a very large majority, and that's what's happening this evening.
The assumption is that Rishi Sunak will resign in the morning. Do you have anyone in mind who you think is the right person to take on the Conservative Party?
Well, as at the moment Mark Francois seems to be about the only Conservative in the House of Commons, it may have to be Mark, who is an admirable man. But I think it's much too early to say. We are going down like 9 pins at the moment, and it depends which of the pins remain standing.
If you're in the Commons, would you throw your hat in the ring?
Let's wait and see what my result is.
Do you think that there's been some speculation, should Rishi Sunak stay on, should you have a longer period of deliberation as the party did in 2005, where it sort of learned some of the lessons of the defeat and actually, went for David Cameron? Or would you like to see a leader installed before the summer or at the party conference?
Look, I think there's no great rush to come to a decision because we're going to be firmly in opposition for some time, and it's important to get the decision right. I think one of our problems has been that we have been changing leaders in the way some people change their shirts.
That is possibly true. Just finally, before I let you go, Jacob Rees-Mogg, is the solution for Nigel Farage and however many MPs he ends up with to be invited into the Conservative Party in the House of Commons?
I think it's too early to start talking about that. I think it's really about values and issues and what commonality, what common ground there is between those people who have voted for right-wing parties in today's or yesterday's election, and to work out then how we bring them all together without getting into the nitty-gritty of the individuals yet. We'll have to do so at some point, but I think we need a little bit of time to think it through properly.
Before I let you go, the big question we need to know the answer to, our colleague James Hanson was telling us about your tradition of bringing sandwiches to the Count. What was in your sandwiches tonight?
Well, I did indeed. I brought ham sandwiches, cheese sandwiches and tongue sandwiches, as well as a great supply of rock cakes.
Fabulous. Do you want to come in on this, Kate?
No, it's just... Go on.
Jacob Rees-Mogg, we'll let you go because I know your results coming back soon. We really appreciate your time and your provisions of rock cakes and tongue sandwiches. Kate McCann.
I'm glad you're so interested in my sandwiches. Thank you.
It's an important
Good
matter.
night.
Thank you very much for joining us.
I just wanted to say, given that we're talking about potential Tory futures and leadership candidates, Oliver Dowd and Victoria Atkins and Kemi Badenoch have all held on in the last few moments. So it's worth, I think we'll try and get some of their acceptance speeches just to try and hear a little bit of what they were saying.
What they're saying.